Checking connection. I think it's probably best if you just
Okay.
request to join, and then I'll just accept your request.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, slightly delayed, but that's all good.
Yeah, I'm gonna focus on you on the big screen.
Cool. Is that? I'm gonna put that.
There he is.
Beautiful.
Here we are.
Yep, that'll do it. Awesome. I got my wife adjusting the phone. Thank you, wife.
The backup team.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. How was your gym sesh? All good?
It was good, brother. I do some random stuff in the gym these days.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen.
But
I've seen.
yeah, but it's fun, man. Like I just tune in with my body and see like, okay, like today I was feeling like I was wanting some strength in my posterior chain and my back. So I
Yep.
was doing lots of like rotational pull movements using the pulleys, using the kettlebells, and then did a little bit of traditional kind of row stuff as well. But
Yep.
yeah, it's very different to how I used to have this little regimented structure. But yeah, good sesh, good
Yeah,
wee sweat on and enjoyed it.
beautiful. Awesome, bro. Are you with your training? Because I've been following you for quite some time actually on Instagram.
Hmm.
And so now I've seen how you've sort of changed and adapted your training to what your, I suppose, your current goals are, right? Or
Yeah.
how you're feeling, what you're feeling called to do. But so what sort of training are you doing? Is it more mobility and flexibility type stuff as opposed to weight training and high intensity?
Yeah, it's actually not a lot of mobility at all.
Yep.
I um I do a lot of functional movements, trying to build a lot of stability from
Yep.
my base, from my foundations, my feet, because my whole life, through my whole training, I never trained my balance, my stability, my feet. And now I look at that as the most crucial part in creating a stable, functional body that works really well. Because if you look at a tree, it has its roots deep. The deeper the roots are, the more stable the tree can be, and the more stable in the wild winds. Same with the body. And if you look at a building, it's the same thing. It has these deep foundations so that it can go up high and then deal with the weather. It's the same with the body, but I'd never trained the foundations or the roots of my body. So I lacked a lot of strength, stability, power, because I didn't have those grounded roots. So a lot of it now, bro, is like split stance. So nearly everything I do, I'm in a split stance.
Mm-hmm.
So standing with the feet 1 foot forward, 1 foot slightly back,
Yep.
and I'm on the balls of my feet.
Yep.
So nearly everything I do, I'm on the balls of my feet, whether that's like using kettlebells or dumbbells or pulley, and lots of rotation.
Yep.
Um, lots of rotation. So yeah, it has definitely evolved or changed, and that, like you said, is very much due to what my goals are. And like, I want to live in a healthy, functional body that moves well for a long period of time. Whereas before, it used to be, I want to be the best rugby player I could be.
Yep.
So it was a bit more about like weight, having like more weight on my body and just strength. Um, but it's funny because now I actually probably have more strength, but a lot less weight.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's just the continual evolution, man. I'm sure you're very similar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely, man. I much like yourself, it was all about size and wasn't much about having a strong foundation.
Hmm.
And ultimately that was probably the unhealthiest I've ever been, funny enough. Training 6 days a week and really over it. I think one thing that I've sort of grasped the concept of is that it's one thing to work out, but it's another thing to work in, which I'm really starting to plug,
Mm,
especially online, is because you need to have the energy to work out and to
mm.
be able to expend that energy. But ultimately, it can lead to a heightened stressed state if you don't have energy to give. So working in would be things like Tai Chi,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, quiet time, things to cultivate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually do that based off of how I'm feeling, which is also like yourself, you would know it's a connection to self and that relationship. But I did want to go back a bit because you're definitely someone who's intrigued me, brother. And I wanted to ask you sort of what age you began your personal sort of self-inquiry and what, if any, event happened in your life that would have kickstarted that.
Yeah. So I haven't talked about this in a while. But it was around, I think I was about 25. I'm 29 now.
Hmm.
And I've always been like curious. I've always like had this thing within me going like, I know I'm here to do something pretty fucking cool in this lifetime. And I initially thought it was to be an All Black, and that was like I put all my energy and effort and attention into that. And then my body just broke down and nearly died. I was in a coma for 3 days.
Far
And,
out.
after I'd made the professional rugby team and that was definitely a shifting point. However, at the time, I wasn't aware of how much that impacted me
Yep.
because I went back after I healed and injured my shoulder, paralyzed. The thing couldn't even work. So I
Yeah.
was like,
Wow.
okay, maybe rugby's not the thing. That was a really hard or a difficult thing to let go of because I'd invested my entire life basically into this one dream, this one goal. And beginning that process of letting go of that was a couple of years journey. But in that couple of years, I moved to Australia and I started listening to lots of podcasts. And it's the reason I like doing things like this, just sharing experience, listening to these other people's experiences of life and how they go about things, especially people that I'm drawn towards, that
Mm.
I feel a resonance with or a truth in or a vibrance of life in. And listening to how they approach life, their perspectives. And a couple of there's so many podcasts, but um, Lewis Howes has a really good one with Joe Dispenza,
Hmm.
and he has a good one with Wim Hof as well. And these two podcasts just blew my mind. Um, Wim Hof talking about the breathing and stuff like this, and he'd climbed Mount Everest in his shorts and all this other crazy stuff he does.
Yeah.
And I was very drawn towards that at that time in my life. I needed that challenge. I needed that like physical, tangible thing. And so I started learning about breath work and had these experiences just brought me out of this thinking mind for the first, not the first time, because I was already a reasonably chill guy, but it really opened a perspective of, oh wow, maybe the world's not quite how I thought it was,
Mm.
or how it seems, or what I've been conditioned to believe my whole life. And so the breath was a big catalyst. And then the Joe Dispenza stuff talking about like what we really are. And if you look at a human body under a microscope and you go down to a atomic level, the size
Mm.
of an atom is 99.9% space.
Yeah.
And that's what we're made up of. And that just made me go, wait, but what? I can feel it. So it made me just question reality a lot more. And I think the greater the questions I have, the more I expand myself.
Mm.
And so it just began this journey of questioning many different things and trying on different ways of living as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I had a really profound experience during a Joe Dispenza meditation, and I base a lot of my meditations off his work because he goes so deep into the science and understanding it. So I'm like, okay, he's got a really good grasp on what works, and so I base my meditations on that. But I had a moment, I'd smoked a little bit of cannabis, and doing one of his meditations on the balcony in Sydney with one of my rugby mates, Harry. And I just remember feeling like I was at the center of the universe, exploding love into everyone and
Mm.
everything, tears streaming down my face,
Mm.
just in this bliss. and my body started vibrating like little vibrations, and it didn't stop for 3 days. I didn't sleep for 3 days, and it was this loving energy exploding out of me, and I was hugging random people on the street, bro.
Yeah.
I remember going to this little place called Momo Bowl, and they'd make these like Pokeball things, and I got chatting with this Nepalese guy, and it was just so heartfelt, the conversation.
Mm.
He ends up giving me the bowl for free, and then he ends up giving me free bowls for the rest of the year.
Wow.
And something clicked for me then, going like, that energy is so abundant.
Yep.
It's love. It brought me home to what this actually all is, where we come from, where we're going to, what we're here to express.
Mm.
And all we're here to do is try and express that true essence as much as we can. Overcome this thinking mind that's amazing at supporting this thing, but
Mm.
when it tries to be in control, that's when things are really difficult and it we begin to suffer.
Yeah.
So my practice is surrendering this thing and letting this thing guide me as much as I can.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. Thanks for going into that, especially because you haven't spoken to it for some time. But and I can resonate with that too. Joe Dispenza is definitely one of the OGs,
Mm,
and he's got some really interesting stuff out there. And I too, funny you say that because I did a meditation the other morning, earlier this week actually, and it was one of his guided meditations. And I have done this particular practice before where I'll meditate and I'll place my hands on my heart.
mhm,
And it's all in order to try and feel gratitude because it's one thing to say that you're grateful, but the
mhm,
feeling is something of which what like you were explaining, your heart just explodes and you can feel your whole body vibrating.
mhm,
And there are certain times in my own life as well where I've had that experience where I've been able to sort of go so deep where um, I can tap into. I use my heart because it's present and it's there and it's always beating. It's what keeps me grounded. So, for example, I had my hand on my chest, and life gets real busy and it's quite overstimulating, and it's good to get out of your mind and into your body. And that's
mm,
what I like yourself. We love breath work. You know, my wife and I both facilitate heaps of breath work. We've got a good little
mm,
community, and it's just one of those things that it really you can be present with it.
mm,
But I had my hand on my heart, and I was just wanting to appreciate the fact that everything that I've been through in life and everything that I may have willingly done to myself to, not, you only know what you know. So
mm,
back in the day, I had made decisions maybe that didn't serve me or didn't add value. And to feel
mhm,
my heart beating after all of the things that I had been through gave me
mm.
an overwhelming sense of gratitude. And I burst into tears.
Beautiful.
Um, and I've done this many times before, where it's just a really nice practice. And I'd probably urge people to do that next time they're meditating, is just to place a hand on your heart and just feel it beating and just know that it does really well and truly. It's probably the hardest worker in the room. It always beats for you, no
Mm,
matter what you put it through. And it's a
100%.
really nice sense of gratitude. So no, I appreciate you sharing that, brother, for sure. I
That's
was
beautiful, man.
I was gonna ask you what type of modalities you've practiced and adopted over the years. You've obviously discussed meditation and breath work as some, but is there any other ones that you've taken a bit of a deep dive into?
Mm. I just try anything, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
I I really do. I'm so curious. I'm
yep,
so inquisitive. Like I really like martial arts and things like this. So I don't like go to classes or anything. I just tune in. I'll watch the best people in the world at that thing and
yep,
how they train on YouTube or whatever, and then I'll just go and try and replicate it. Um, so like doing lots of shadow boxing and movement and like being really present in my body is
yep,
something that I've been doing the last sort of 18 months, and like noticing the subtleties, how the bones move in the joints, how the spine wants to slightly oscillate, how the feet best walk. Um, so that's something, it's like everything in combination because you're using the breath to find a rhythm within the body, but you're so present mindful that you're basically meditating. Um, Plus you're actually moving this thing that we're in, this body that's designed to move. It's got all these joints and these muscles and these patterns that it can move in. That's been my real exploration the last little while, and doing it. So I'll train, which is a bit more like focused on like building a body that I want to be in. And
Yep.
then I love dancing, bro. Like
Yeah.
I used to be like a fucking stick and so rigid and stiff and awkward and shy and introverted.
Mm.
And now I'm the guy like just fucking letting it express fully. And
Yeah,
what I've
beautiful.
noticed is when it's coming from here, and I just go and dance to have fun.
Mm.
When it's coming from here, it's an infectious energy. People love that energy. The weirder you can be, and I know it's so difficult because the brain gets involved and it's like, no, you're gonna die. This is scary shit. You're gonna
Yeah.
get rejected, and it's just trusting it anyway, and trusting yourself because you
Yeah.
already know.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And like that it's so funny when you try and explain energy to people, like where everything is energy, right? We know it can't be created or destroyed. And Joe Dispenza talks a lot about that. And I always try and that's the exact example I'll give people who can't sort of comprehend energy and like emotions being energy in motion. And
Hmm.
like, we have these things to feel. They're not there to be suppressed and bottled down. And I think fear gets in the way of a lot of that. So like for example, when you dance, it's very heartfelt, it's coming from your heart, and you can let loose and you can have fun without that fear of judgment.
Hmm.
And it's really quite a beautiful place to be in. I know I've seen a few videos of you letting loose, and it definitely looks like a good time. But what I try and explain to people is like, yeah, that energy. So, if you walk into a room and there's perhaps, a bit of hostility, or maybe there's someone that maybe you've had a weird interaction with or whatever, you can feel the energy straight off the bat.
Hmm.
And that's how I try and explain it to people. Like, when you walk into a room and it's vibing and you can feel that energy, oh yeah, that's sort of what in simple terms you can explain to someone that's they sort of start to grasp the concept. But yeah, I love
Be-
that. I love that.
Beautiful way to put it. And I think it's so um you can really play with it. You can
Mm,
you can really notice that you're the creator of your reality when you notice how you're feeling and then how that's projected and reciprocating to you. So if I yeah, well, exactly what you're saying, man. If I go down to the drum circle, whatever, on a Sunday, and I'm like this, I see everyone else that's like this. If I'm like vibing, you can actually bring people into that energy as well.
yep.
Um, the best thing I do, or the way that I shift from a constricted to an open, is I'll literally close my eyes, I'll focus on the breath, and I'll begin moving my shoulders like this. As soon
Mm,
as I'm just there and I'm not thinking, then I'm away. It's that simple. Whereas I used to get so caught in here.
yep.
And I know it's something that really plagues our society. So it's like, how can we give some simple tools that can support that process of like the anxiousness is really what the word is these days. It's anxiety, it's fear of what may happen in the future moment.
Yeah.
But just looking around, being present, bringing the awareness to your breath. Once the awareness is with the breath, then you can consciously slow it down. And when we consciously slow it down, especially bringing it lower into the belly, the mind slows down because the
Mm,
mind is influenced by the heart rate. The heart rate isn't influenced by the breath rate. Slow the breath, slow the heart, slow the mind. But
yep.
first, we need to notice that we're constricting or we're anxious or we're in the mind. That's the hardest part. Notice
Yeah.
it, then we're away.
Yep. I agree, brother. I agree. It is the self-awareness.
Mm,
The self-awareness is the biggest thing. If you already have that and you are lacking direction, then it's the perfect opportunity to start diving into some of these modalities. and reaching out and having these type of conversations. But if you don't have a self-awareness and you're sort of unconscious, so to speak, of your surroundings and how you are as a person and maybe potentially why you are being that way, then yeah,
Mm.
and I always think about that as well. I always think about what does it take in each person's life for them to have um, a self-awareness or that sort of wake-up call where it's like, geez, I need to change something. And I've also thought about that, the fact that a lot of people may not have that opportunity in life, whether it be they just never get the awareness,
Mhm.
or the and it's unfortunate because I feel like we're born very connected, and
Mm.
then as life happens,
Mhm.
and becomes very stressful and overstimulating, and we're surrounded by environmental toxins and we're ingesting toxins, and everything sort of just becomes imbalanced. And what was once harmonious is not anymore.
Mm.
And I feel like it's very hard for people to find their way back to
Mm.
that sense of self, and sense of balance. And I mean, that's why I love what you share, and I try and share the exact same messages that you really need to. Someone said in the live, love is the answer.
Mm.
And yes, the people, the house, the city, and the energy of the country as well. 100%, it's everything.
Mm.
It's everything. But change always starts from within.
Yeah.
And that's when self-awareness comes into play. And if you're completely unaware that you even need to change, then you're just going to be floundering around in your
Mm.
life, doing the suboptimal or no option.
Yeah, brother. And that's the scariest part, the comfort zone. The
Yeah,
comfort zone is the scariest fucking thing for me
yeah,
because it's like that's where you go to die, in
yeah,
my opinion. That's where you slowly start to die. But if we continually explore that edge, that possibility, it's an adventure. It's a continual adventure until the day we drop.
mm,
But it really is. I feel so many have to go through the deep pain and suffering to go, okay, this way isn't working.
mm,
Like I did. It's funny because I'm grateful for every single moment I went through in my life because it's led me to where I am now.
yeah,
And so when I remind myself of that, I don't see people when they're suffering as like they need to be changed. It's like, no, this is just where they're at.
yep,
When they have the questions or they're curious, I'll be here to share what I did from my
yep,
experience. Like I'm no guru. I'm no one way is the right way, is your way is the way. And just encouraging and supporting and giving people permission slips to be more of themselves. That to me is the greatest guidance that we can support another human with.
yeah. I agree. I agree 1,000%. I feel like people, you got to meet them where they're at, and it is their own journey. And sometimes all they need to be as well is seen and heard. Sometimes, a set of ears goes a long way. People are always trying to do too much, and you can't help people along any further than what they're willing to meet themselves as well. So people need to want the change, but they're also in their own journey. So, and much like yourself, everything that I've been through as well, in my younger years, and even as a child, maybe pre like memory, it even goes all the way back to, um, you know, ancestral times where our ancestors have been through something, and you're sort of trying to heal those wounds as well. Um, you've always got to, I mean, sometimes it's really hard to articulate your own journey sometimes, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is I'm grateful as well. Like there's not one thing that I
Mm,
ever regretted in my life, a
mm,
circumstance, a person, a relationship, anything like that, because it guides you exactly where you need to be.
mm,
And trusting in that where you need to be is one of the most powerful places to be as a human being. Is like it's very freeing.
mm,
Um, and it's funny. I actually want to ask you then. if you have any fears, like what would be your one greatest fear? Because for me personally,
Mm,
my greatest fear, and I don't have any really, but my one fear that drives me to keep wanting to be better every day is my fear of not truly knowing my um my full capability.
mm,
Like not being like, and the funny thing is I don't think I'll ever know that because
mm-hmm,
we're remarkable beings.
mm-hmm,
So I don't know. I'll try my best, but I just don't. I could probably do better and better and better, but I just don't know.
mm, beautiful. Yeah, that fear of what we're capable of. That's a scary one. It's like,
Mm,
well, if I really explored myself, expressed myself to the fullest capability, like what's that capable of? But honestly, bro, I'm actually scared of a lot of things. But I just know how to overcome it
yep.
with greater potential, with greater ease now.
Mm,
As many times throughout every day, I'm going, oh, I want to say hello to that person and whatever, and then the fear will come up, and then overcome it and go with that authentic, positive energy anyway. So it's like it definitely comes in a lot, but it's just easier, more easily overcome because I've practiced it. And it's
yeah,
like anything, we just practice these little techniques and things. They get easier and easier until they become just completely unconscious, and then it appears like the fear isn't there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's reprogramming the
Yes,
subconscious to,
exactly.
yeah, not lean into that fear and more so um, feel it,
Mm.
absorb it, almost
Mm-hmm.
metabolize it, let it come
Mm-hmm.
out, and then go into how you should be authentically. But
On,
um,
on that, bro, I think it's so important. So David Hawkins, he's written a book called Letting Go.
mhm,
He's this beautiful being. He's no longer with us, but he wrote a bunch of amazing books. And I prefer to call it the allowing process, but he calls it the letting go process. And basically, when something arises, like you're saying, a trigger or something that constricts us in some way, or something where we're stuck in our head, firstly noticing that. So just having the intention at the start of the day, I'm going to notice how I'm feeling, how my body is reacting to the environment and the sensations within it. And throughout the day, you can notice these constrictions or these uncomfortable sensations. You might think about someone and it brings up this like weird feeling in your gut. So when you notice that, okay, close the eyes because you instantly close off 70 or 80% of your sensory input by closing your eyes, and then you can tune in with your body more easily. So closing your eyes, noticing that sensation in the gut, and then allowing it to be there, to arise. What does it feel like? What are the textures of it? Welcome it fully in. And it might be like a constricting, yucky, sticky feeling. It might be a very beautiful feeling. But whatever the feeling is, allowing it fully so that it can move, because energy works best in motion,
mhm,
like water, my friend.
yeah,
As soon as it gets stagnant, it gets dirty and yuck and
mm,
not good. So we want to, the body is just energy. We want to keep it flowing.
yeah,
So, but most of us, when we feel these sticky, uncomfortable sensations, we constrict, and that puts these dams around it and stops it from flowing. And then over time, that builds into illness and disease, or eat things to suppress that feeling, which also creates the illness and disease.
yep,
So it's really about getting that energy flowing, closing the eyes, noticing, allowing, or letting go, allowing, and then what you'll notice is it will dissolve or it will begin to move. And then as a result, you get a greater spaciousness or a greater freedom within your body. And however we're feeling on within is what we create without. So if we can create greater freedom within our system, we create greater freedom within our external living situation as well.
yeah. I love everything that you had to say, and looks like people in the live definitely did as well. And I agree. It's if you could, I feel like what might be hard for people is to gain an awareness. What sort of advice would you give to someone to try and gain their own self-awareness? Because I know I've spoken to plenty of people in the past, and my thing that I like to tell people is that you need to sit still.
Mm.
You need to slow down.
Yeah, bro. Slowing, bro. I used to have this business called Call to Be Conscious. It's still running, and
Yep.
would bring people down to the beach and lay them there, and would connect them with each other. People love just having the permission to connect with another stranger. Loved it, and ask them some questions, and then we'd get them to lay down, do 10 minutes of breathing, 10 minutes of a guided meditation, and they come up at the end of it like, oh my God, this was the best thing I've ever done in my life. Thank you so much. And all it was, bro, was permission slip, stop,
Mm,
lay down, say hello to another human being.
yeah.
That's all it is, bro. And so many people are just go, go, and I was like this.
Yep.
Next thing, next thing, next thing, and we don't have any time to tune in with the body. And if we do tune in with the body, it's got all the answers. It's this intelligent biotech piece of equipment, and it'll give you all the answers and direction with things that you need to do for it and how to support it best. Um, Not sure if that answered the question or not, but
Yeah, no, definitely.
there we
It,
go.
it more than answered the question. It
Very
was
cool.
good. It was good. The more information, the better, you know. It's like music to my ears, especially love talking to like-minded individuals such as yourself. And also learning, you know, the main
Mm,
reason that I wanted to have a yarn with you is because I'm so intrigued by the things that you do, and I love your open-mindedness and your willingness to try different things. And I also love that, you know, sometimes I like to go to the comment section just to sort of see, hopefully I get a glimpse of people that are just as open-minded and just as curious. And then, of course, sometimes there's people that have their opinions, but the way you respond instead of react to those, and you're more than happy to have you know, a chat about anything. It's really hats off to you, brother, for that as well. Like it's just it's there's no ego there. It's all
mm.
about wanting one to be the experience of um, living your life and not, you know, having to be right or wrong or just wanting to learn as much as possible. So the more information, the better, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Like, I appreciate it, man. And it's for me, the responding to people like I'm curious. Like, I want to find the deepest truth within my way. And so having an open mind is the way to do that. And
Mm.
it's like I'll hold my beliefs tightly, but I'm also ready at a moment to let them go
Yes.
if I feel and understand a deeper truth or experience something of a greater depth. And and then that will be my new known experience that I'll hold firmly until but staying open. This is my belief. Okay, bring yours, bring yours. Okay, no, I've tried all that things that doesn't make sense. That this oh yep. Okay, let me try that. Oh whoa. Okay, we'll follow, we'll trust that. So it's really just this continual exploration,
Yeah.
um, adventure.
Yeah. Adventure for sure.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where it's, you know, one person's belief may suit them. It's not a one shoe fits all um, type of thing. It's just whatever resonates with you and what's going to best serve you. Everyone's different. And this is how I feel about, which is what I wanted to ask you as well, because I know I followed you from when you used to live in a van and you were predominantly eating meat. So I don't know
Oh
if that
wow.
I don't know if that was carnivore or you were eating just like keto. Um, but diets is one of those things where I feel like right now it's more of a trend than anything, and people are saying, no, you should eat keto, no, you should eat vegetarian, and they're sort of just shoving it down each other's throats without thinking, okay, maybe that doesn't suit the person, and maybe there's not one way. Because for me personally, the way I eat anyway is I eat ancestral, like according to my ancestral lineage.
Hmm.
which I have been doing for quite some time now.
Hmm.
But I'm very curious to dive a bit deeper into your journey with nutrition
Hmm.
and how that's made you feel. And if you've had any ailments in the past, have you been able to cure them with particular type of food protocols?
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, I've tried so many different diets, bro, but the way I look at it now is I don't ap apply any label to how I
Mm.
live.
Yep.
Like I can go and eat a fucking steak if I want to.
Mm.
I can go over burger. I can go over pizza. I just choose to predominantly eat fruit
Yep.
because it makes my body feel the best from my experience.
Mm.
And I've I'll dive into the people again, like we spoke to at the beginning, that I see life and I see vital health and okay, what are they saying? What is the information they have to share? And that's how I went about the transition. To begin with, it was just all right. I'm open here while I'm on this animal-based diet, and I'm not feeling the best right now. I was feeling quite inflamed, tight, lots of tension in my body. Had this real hectic fungal infection on my feet. Um, and very I could only like breathe through one nostril most of the time when I'd go to sleep because I was
Yep.
so full of mucus.
Yep.
And I was just went in with the approach of doing a cleanse. I was like, I'll just try a cleanse and see how it goes, and then it just continued on. And then
Mm.
I started learning all this different information that I hadn't been exposed to before, and it made a lot of sense to me. Like I was saying before, it rung a deeper truth within me, and so that's now what I hold to be true within my system is supporting the body with simple, easily digesting foods, light and hydrating. Because if we again we look at the body in terms of energy, it wants the least amount of obstruction in it possible.
Mm.
What's the least amount of obstruction? Things that go through it nice and quickly, but also it can absorb lots of goodness out of those things. And the body wants hydration almost number one. There's lubrication for everything. The body is basically a walking water cylinder.
Yep.
And that's what this has got in it. It's got perfectly structured water.
Yep.
Um, but I did struggle at the beginning with the addictions that I'd created for salt, oil, and sugar. These
Hmm.
things create these hectic stimulation in the brain. Um, we're all pretty addicted to food in some way,
Yep.
and so shifting the microbiome by clearing out a lot of the mucoid plaque using the herbs that I um, was guided towards, and I actually use with the people in my program now. I use the exact same herbs,
Yep.
and what that does, the herbs with a high hydration diet, it's going to pull out the stuff called mucoid plaque.
Hmm.
And mucoid plaque builds up on the inner lining of the small intestine mainly. And most people have about 10 or 5 to 10 kilos of it. And it's just decaying matter and waste because we eat these things that are not designed to go through this digestive system. And so it accumulates, and most of it accumulates in the small intestine. But these herbs have the ability to pull it out. And when I started seeing this stuff come out of me,
Hmm.
it was just this, again, this real mind-bending moment of like, oh, fuck, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
If that's in me, that's in just about everyone because
Oh,
most
yeah.
people I know eat similar to how I eat or worse. And so that was a really big moment for me. And then the inflammation went away.
Hmm.
But interestingly, it's very connected with the energetic body. So those sensations and feelings that we were talking about before, they begin to arise because there's no longer the density coming into the body, slowing down that vibration of these things that are wanting to come out.
Hmm.
So on a high hydration light diet, the feelings will arise. And it's something that I don't think gets talked about enough when we shift to uh, this way of eating because people just think it's all just the food, but the food's just like a tiny piece of the puzzle.
Mm.
There's so much more to it. But the food allows the energy to begin to move again. So I think it's really important to know the process of letting go or allowing when the energy arises, so you can feel it and you can allow that space to be created. Because if you don't know how to do that, you're going to want to suppress it. You're going to get really addicted to other things. But when you can allow it and let it come out of the body in whatever way that is, whatever expression that is for you, that's when you start to see real shifts.
Mm.
And I've created, it's called the vital creator process. And the first step is learning that process of letting go before we even think about going um, into the cleanse, because it's like you need to be prepared to be with the energy that wants to flow.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's been a little bit about my food
Yeah.
diet journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is important. There is some level of addiction there and somewhat of a fear of letting go of a particular food or substance that maybe you eat primarily and I know the feeling too, right? It's like, shit, I want to try this, but I don't really want to let go of that. Um, so it is, I'm picking up what you're putting down and I can resonate with that. How do you feel? Like, is your clarity, physical, body, emotional, everything just feeling amazing right now?
Yeah, man. I've come to realize the importance of rest
Yep.
as well. But yeah, the food, like I honestly, bro, I feel so good when I'm just eating fruit.
Mm,
As soon as I eat something else, even when it's like a heavier salad or something, it'll slow me down a bit. I might get a little bit mucusy, but all I do now, bro, is I'm really honest with myself. I'm honest with how my body is reacting to the foods that I'm eating. But the, but before, if I'd have eaten a certain thing, I wouldn't have noticed that reaction because I was so plugged up
yep.
that my body wasn't as sensitive. So it wasn't giving me honest feedback because the body's so intelligent, it'll go to the area that it needs to address first. And often it's not the shitty thing you've eaten because you've got so much damage going on. So I think being really gentle with yourself if you're wanting to embark on this process and seeing it as a slow transition rather than like a quick fix. And it's like, okay, I really want to support my body and because the body regenerates itself. We
Yep.
don't heal it with anything that we put in it. All we're doing is trying to support those natural rhythms and systems that are already intelligently built into it.
Yep.
And the best thing you can do is like water fast. You water fast for 40 days, you heal just about anything.
Mm,
But you can do slightly less levels of that. I think then you go to juice fasting, and then you go to just fruit eating, and then you go to fruit and raw vegetables, and you go to fruit, raw vegetables, and cooked vegetables, fruit, raw vegetables, cooked vegetables, and meat, fruit, raw vegetables, cooked vegetables, meat, and uh, processed foods or whatever.
yeah.
That's the kind of spectrum I now look at it on.
Yep.
And I do not judge anyone for anything they eat. Like,
Yep.
I have eaten anything and everything under the sun, so I'm no one to judge. This is just where I'm at in my journey at the moment. And others that feeling drawn towards that, it's like I'm happy to share what I'm doing now, how I'm feeling. But yeah, mental clarity. I don't eat most days till late morning, noonish, and it's normally something hydrating and light because
Yep.
I want to be as clear and as empty as I can for as long as I can during the day. But I also want to create a strong body, which I need a certain amount of calories from. But I use stuff called marine phytoplankton, which covers basically all the bases of your nutrients, your minerals, your essential fatty acids, your essential amino acids. Um, and then I just try and keep it as light as I can. But there's days that it's not as easy as others, and I'm really gentle with myself when I go and eat something that I know I shouldn't be
Yep.
eating,
Mm,
because the worst thing we can do is go and guilt shame ourselves, and then we're suppressing and we're creating more of that dense energy. It's like, oh no, I just really fucking enjoyed that ice cream or
yeah.
whatever it is, and I think that's a real key part of it, man.
Yeah.
Like like I know where I'm going. I know I'm gonna fuck up. I'm gonna be gentle to myself on the way. I'm not gonna beat myself up over a little meal here and there.
Yeah. And that's important too, eh? Because you I believe that if you're going to go and eat something that you might not eat, particularly on a regular basis, or you might have a little bit of there's an 80/20 rule. I know Paul Chek talks a lot about this, and my wife and I are both Czech practitioners as well. But he talks about the 80/20 rule. That's a good platform to start with. I feel like they're good ratios, and I feel like what people need to do is, if they're going to go down that path of sort of, seeking more longevity and more value into their life, in terms of nutrition and movement, and other holistic modalities, is that you need to make small changes because it can be very overwhelming. And the other thing is that if you're going to go and eat something, you get to that stage where you're like, I've been really good. I don't really want to stuff up. But you have that 20% to have something, whether it be an ice cream or a pizza or something. You can't shame yourself about it. You can't, because ultimately then you're putting unnecessary stress on yourself, and it's just going to be harder to digest anyway.
Mm.
Right? That stress response is going to inhibit that
Right.
digestion. So it's just like, why, if you're going to do it wholeheartedly and just go, yeah, I enjoyed that pizza or I enjoyed that ice cream, like you were saying. And just,
That's
yeah.
that point, the stress, man. And I think I'd say the majority of people look at, and I used to be like this as well, um, they look at food as the answer to their health problems. And again, it's such a small piece to the puzzle.
Mm,
The majority of the issues come from a dysregulated nervous system, a nervous system that's constantly in fear, slightly fight or flight turned on, or slightly on edge, slightly, oh, I've got to get back to that person, I've got to do this and that. There's this constant like energy wanting to wanting to relax, but it can't. And that is far more important to address than the food that you're eating. I'd
mm,
rather someone with a really relaxed, balanced, calm, easeful nervous system eating McDonald's and random shit. They would, in my opinion, they would probably be a healthier individual than someone that's freaking stressed out eating the perfect diet. And I see it a lot. People eating, oh, they got all the biotech stuff, and and they're fucking miserable and sick.
yeah.
Um, and it's just because they're in this real high stress environment
Mm,
within their body. So what I do with the people that come through the program, the first thing we do is we learn how to rest properly. And the best way you can rest is, give me 1 second. I've
yeah,
just
go
got
for
it
it.
in my book. There it is.
Yeah, legs up. Yep.
So you want your feet on or your legs just like that, 90 degrees at the knees, 90 degrees at the hips.
Hmm.
Just find a table, or not a table. You'd have some fucking long legs to be doing it on a table.
I could probably do that.
Yeah, yeah. Just find a seat or a couch, or the side of your bed.
Hmm.
That's a nice, comfortable. Because what it does is, even when you're laying flat, you have this like arch in your lower back, and there's still a bit of tension. But with the legs like this, you take all of the tension out of your lower back,
Mm,
and it's the most restful position that we can put the body in. There was a study done over in the States, Dr. Steitler, and it was they tried all these different things to see what would rebalance the nervous system in the quickest amount of time. They tried like acupuncture, massage therapy, and a whole host of different kind of holistic practices. And that 14 days in a row at the same time for roughly 20 or 30 minutes, the same time of the day is so that the brain can get in a rhythm of like, okay, this is the time I rest. This is the time I just don't need to think about anything, and it'll automatically start to put you in that. If you can do it at a similar time, I like to do it before bed because
yep.
then you get the best sleep. You get these really lucid dreams. But if you look at a yoga nidra in the Ayurvedic practice, and you're just basically scanning the body, they talk about 20 minutes of a yoga nidra is the equivalent to 4 hours of restful sleep.
Mm,
So if we can put ourselves in that position and scan the body, uh, that's like a super drug. And it's the most simple, free, effective thing that we can do.
yeah.
So I call it the reset position.
The Ruset.
Yeah. So yeah, you're just on the back, and you can chuck some headphones in, listen to a meditation or some chill music. It's just a really uh beautiful thing. There's a guy here saying, "I've been doing this in the sauna intuitively," and I'm so interested in that because a lot of the things I will just randomly do with movements or things like this in the sauna, it's an intuitive thing. And then a week or two later, I'll hear that it's like there's some study behind it, like this guy's just found out. And I think that's where the body's intelligence comes in
Yep.
because it knows all of these little things, how to support itself. We just
Mm.
really need to trust ourselves and explore those intuitive things that it's wanting to do.
Yeah. It really does come down to tapping into your own self connection and
Hmm.
um, and almost getting that back because over time, if you have been through stressful circumstances and eating whatever and your daily habits are off and your priorities are off, and you're putting yourself down here where you should be up here, well then you're really not going to have that connectedness that you need to have, and intuitively you're not going to have that sense of like I trust myself and I
Yep.
trust what my body needs. And I love what Auntie Barb says. Barbara O'Neill always says that the body is a self-healing organism if given the
Mm,
right conditions. Um,
yes.
and that just rings true
Yes.
all the way home. It's like,
Yeah.
not a truer word has been said. And um, it's exactly what you touched on just before, is like where it's going to heal itself, but we need to support it.
Mm,
And that's why the whole fruit thing, I'm not far off that. I do eat meat currently,
hmm
but it'll only be I didn't eat meat for a very long time. I was actually pretty much doing what you did. So I had testicular cancer 2 years ago, about just probably just over, maybe
Oh,
about 2 years
wow.
ago. And I decided to go on a journey of, I wasn't stressed about it. It
Hmm.
was a bit overwhelming. I think that was just the Western medical system
Yeah.
making that overwhelming. But I decided to go down the path of, I want to see where this goes, and I want to
Hmm.
see what I'm capable of.
Wow.
Maybe this is an opportunity for me to live a better life. And I actually got excited by it. And I said to my wife, who's very like-minded like us as well, she's on the same level. She said, if you want to do that, you've got my full support. And
Hmm.
I think it'll be amazing. And I just looked at her. I remember after I actually went to see the urologist, and I looked at her in the car and I said, like something amazing is going to come from this.
Mm,
And sure enough, 2 years later, like all clear, and it was all natural, but it was using food as medicine, which
yeah.
is using food as information. Sorry,
Yeah.
it is medicine, but it's information. What you put into your body is going to be a direct reflection of everything else.
Mm,
So for me, like I did pretty much what you're doing now, except a lot less fruit, just to keep the glucose down.
hmm
And I was pretty much organic whole foods. It was called the Gerson therapy. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
I've actually got the book right here.
Hmm.
This is one of the books anyway.
Wow.
Max Gerson, A Cancer Therapy, and it pretty much talks about fasting, like juice fasting, plant-based whole food diet. And there's a guy, he's got a podcast on Apple and Spotify, Chris Beats Cancer.
Hmm.
And he's someone I listened to throughout that journey, and he's
Mm,
still to this day eating very much the same whole food plant-based diet.
wow.
And he had, I think, you can't really compare anyone's journey to your own, but he had probably what I would consider a more severe cancer. I think he had pancreatic.
Hmm.
something like that, and he healed it naturally as well without any medical intervention. So there was
Yeah.
no disturbance. But it's quite amazing what you can really do. And I mean, this isn't medical advice at all, and it's each to their own. I got told I was crazy,
Mm.
and everything like that, and I just said respectfully and with love,
Yeah.
thanks for your
Wow.
concern, but I feel like I'm gonna do this. And surely enough, life's just been amazing, and it's really, you know, it's very motivational to know. It's very empowering to know that you can heal from something like that.
Mm.
There was a lot
Yeah.
of self-forgiveness in that journey.
Hmm.
So I think physical and mental health, everything, that's what holistic means, right?
Yeah.
Holistic
It's
means
all of it.
is interconnected. It's not
Hmm.
compartmentalized like everyone likes to make it.
Mm.
All right.
Yep.
Yes, there's aspects and there is parts, but they don't work without,
Mm.
one being it's balance, it's yin and yang.
Hmm.
Everything needs to be balanced. And so um I can resonate with how eating the fruit and the vegetables makes you feel because I felt amazing.
Hmm.
I felt absolutely amazing. I still feel amazing now, but I'm eating a bit more meat.
Hmm.
And that's mainly because I'm eating by my ancestral lineage.
Hmm.
So Paul Chek um, has a system where it's like you're going to be one of three type of food groups for your ancestral lineage, and that's polar. So where you're from in the world, whether it's close to the north or south poles,
Hmm.
equatorial, which is on the equator, which is more subtropical, which so the poles are more protein and fats,
Hmm.
so meat and the like, and then the equatorial is more sort of plant based, but still a little bit of more
Hmm.
carbohydrates, but a little bit of protein. And then there's variable, which is probably what people fall when they've like potentially mixed race. So I'm half Maori, and then mum's of like an English descent.
Hmm.
So there was a bit of a mix there. So I'm variable. So I'm like I need a bit of everything,
Hmm.
but I don't need it. That's just a guideline to go off.
Mm.
You only know how you're going to feel when you eat what you need to eat
Yeah.
because that's the relationship that you've built, which I really love and look up to. And honestly, I'm open to trying just the fruit and the vegetable for sure. In my part of my own journey at the moment, I'm liking what I'm eating. I'm
Mm.
only eating meat um maybe 5 or 4 days out of the week, and it'll be the size of my palm, which is a good
Hmm.
sort of indicator of how much meat you should eat anyway,
Hmm.
if you're going to.
Yeah.
And then the rest is plant-based whole foods and fruits.
Beautiful.
And I pretty much don't eat like even potatoes. I've sort of pulled them away, and I'll only eat like sweet potato or pumpkin. Trying to stay away from sort of the heavier, starchier vegetables and
Yeah.
fruits, and I'll only pretty much eat like a banana or a green apple here and there,
Hmm.
and then a handful of nuts each day. So that's sort of where I'm at with it in my own journey anyway, which I feel great. Um,
That's the thing, man.
yeah,
If it's working for you, it's working for you.
yeah, and that's
And
it.
all we can do is explore, experiment, and be honest with the body and the feedback that it's giving us, the information that we're receiving from it. I
Yeah,
think like we keep coming back to it, man. It's like that self-awareness, that connection to the body, to ourselves, that deeper connection. That's really the essence of it all. Like even what you were saying there when you got diagnosed with cancer, it was like this could be a beautiful opportunity to experience a fucking phenomenal life. And just that way of approaching it and looking at it, like that's half the fucking job done,
hmm,
you know? And it's like, yes, we'll eat the fruits and or the foods that protocol supported. And that again is if you trust that, it's gonna work better.
yeah,
The placebo thing, the Joe Dispenza, how we see and how we project into the world is what we receive from the world.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so it's again, it's such a nuanced thing, but it really comes down to understanding ourselves, becoming aware of who and what we are and how these systems work the best.
yeah. Someone's asked in the live, I have a question, why change your diet after your new diet healed you? And I love, um, and someone else asked something about your reset position. Is that resting position better than fascial release? Do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah.
I
So
think it'll be two different things.
yeah, I'll just do it quickly. So yes, it's going to release the fascia because you think of the body, it's continually like in some kind of tension. But even when you're laying down flat, because like I was saying, there's that arch in the lower back, there's this slight tension in the system. But when you put yourself like this and like that, it takes all of the tension and the whole body, like there's no, like we've been talking about, there's no disconnect from the fascia and the rest of the body. The fascia is interwoven into everything. So
Mm,
if we're putting the body in the most relaxed, at ease position we possibly can, that's going to release a lot of the tension in the fascia, which is the web that's holding all the muscles and the bones together.
mhm.
So it's like a deep breath, and you'll notice it. You do it once, you're going to be hooked.
Yeah.
Because you feel how relaxed your body is after it. So just give it a go for 20 or 30 minutes and aim to do it for 14 days in a row if you
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be doing that after this call, that's for sure.
can.
So yeah, why change your diet after your new diet healed you? So I love this question, and I actually really love talking about my journey, not because um, not because I like the sound of my own voice, but because I feel like I feel like it can be very informative, and I do get asked a lot about it. And while I was going through it, and sort of people knew about it, I didn't share a lot because my energy was focused on healing
Mm,
and not sharing. I didn't really have the capacity to want to share so much, but I sh shared sort of dribs and drabs. There is actually down my feed, I think I did like a 20-part thing where I go through exactly what I sort of did to heal myself. And that, yeah, I don't want people to take that as gospel and like medical advice because each to their own. However, I feel like that is what resonated with me, and I've seen countless stories of people healing from dis-ease in the same way. And the funny thing is that 90 to 95% of disease is actually caused by faulty lifestyle habits. And my lifestyle habits back in the day, I am not surprised that I
mm,
copped something as such. So I was really just grateful to be given an opportunity that I could prove to myself and others that you can do things with what we have been provided with. Um, and to answer that question, I'll try and answer it as simple as possible. But essentially, I used food and I got educated. So I did this through guidance. I didn't just do this on my own. I did this through guidance, and I learned a lot about the foods that I needed to eat. And although they were great for the healing, I also needed to reintroduce some balance into my my diet. So, for example, having tumors, they're always trying to reach out and grab nutrients, and generally they would grow. The biggest food for cancer is glucose. Another thing is glutamine. So I didn't eat a lot of high glycemic fruit. Like I said at the start, I was really only on the plant-based whole foods, and then I stayed off the meat. And a meat is also acidic and it's inflammatory, as is dairy as well. It can be. So um, the reason it was good for what I needed it for, but I changed my diet. I didn't change it, meaning I went back to my old ways. I literally only made small adjustments. So I only reintroduced very late in the piece. I think I stuck to my protocol for a good 7 to 8 months, which was just plant-based whole foods, um, cold pressed juices. I did juice fasting and water fasting. I did Barbara O'Neill calls them sitz baths, but I did hot baths, or they also referred to as fever baths, which I know at a lot of holistic cancer clinics in like Mexico and even in I think maybe there's one in Thailand as well. And Barbara O'Neill's got Misty Mountain in New South Wales there. They do that. It's and I did that with bicarb soda and magnesium chloride in the bath, and that's a whole that could be a whole conversation on its own. I've actually got a great book here. It's called Anti-Inflammatory Oxygen Therapy by the same author as Sodium Bicarbonate. They're two separate books, and they're two things that I used to overcome. That was oxygen therapy. So I was in the hyperbaric chambers once a week, and sodium bicarbonate, which is a alkalizing compound, and also can oxygenate the tissue. And it's the whole point of having the bath with the magnesium was to break the sodium down into micro bubbles.
Hmm.
And magnesium is also good for you, and everyone's quite deficient in it because the soil's all depleted. So um, I sort of went off track there. Sorry, crystalline, but yeah, I still eat the way I eat. To answer your question, I still eat the way I used to eat for healing, but I was just more strict with particular quantities and what it was. I've reintroduced juiced meat and raw dairy to sort of help my gut a bit more. I mean, I not claiming to definitely know it all, but I know that those vegetables and stuff in big quantities, like I was eating, was sort of harsh to digest at times. So, and I had to take supplemental probiotics and prebiotics to help with that. Um, but you know what I would love to ask you? I want to know more about the biophotons and
Hmm.
your opinion on that and your opinion on the not needing of animal protein.
Hmm.
Because I see you post a lot about it. Because I'm very much like you. I'm open-minded and I'm willing to learn.
Hmm.
And from I have been taught that, and I don't know how accurate it is, but I have been taught that with a lot of fruits and vegetables, they're precursor for vitamins and minerals. Like for example, like people think you get vitamin E from a carrot, but I've been taught that you don't get vitamin E, you actually get the beta carotene, which your body converts. So I know with a lot of those, and then I got told that with the meat and the dairy products, they're more readily available. I don't know, maybe can you jump into a bit of detail on what your knowledge is of that?
Yeah, man. So biophotonic energy is like units of energy from the sun and
Mm,
stored, and fruit has biophotonic energy in it. And to me, I want sunlight in my body.
hmm,
Like I want my body to be light and deeply energetically connected. Like I see the body as an electromagnetic vessel. And what's the best way to support that electromagnetic vessel? It's like light, hydrating, stored sunlight energy. The fresher, the better. If you can pick it out of your backyard, that's the best possible thing.
mhm,
If it's from, a supermarket, that's still pretty damn good because you're getting this biophotons. You're getting stored sunlight energy in liquid form in these fruits, and it gets filtered water through the tree out through the branches, and then it turns into this beautiful color and smell and flavor. And the sugar and fruit is very different to all other sugars. Fructose is one of the simple sugars. Um, you got fructose, glucose, which is found predominantly in your vegetables, and then galactose, which is found in mother's milk. Interestingly, there's like 1% protein in mother's milk,
mhm,
yet that is the building foundations of a human baby.
mm. That's interesting.
Very interesting. Um, a human growing without any protein, basically. So that's one thing that Dr. Robert Morse, who I learned a lot of what I know now from, he speaks on that quite a lot because it's like sort of sums it up right there.
Mm,
Um, With the breakdown of animal protein comes what's called an acid ash, and there's a machine that they've created in Germany, and it basically analyzes how a food reacts in the human body and then the chemistry created from it. So a lot of fruit is actually acidic as it goes in, but it creates an alkaline uh, chemistry as it goes through and comes out of the body. So
mhm.
all fruit basically, if you're not combining it heaps with each other, if you're not like blending heaps and heaps of things together,
Yeah.
is going to be an alkaline uh, uh, result coming through the system. And a lot of the foods that I used to eat in my past was basically anything, uh, anything. And so I was a lot of acidity, having to break, using a lot of energy to break down the foods, the animal proteins,
Hmm.
and then that acid ash is residue in the body, and especially if my small intestine's all plugged up like it was, it starts backing up interstitially. So meaning around the cells in the lymphatic fluid, there is now an acidic waste because the blood will always keep a perfect pH balance. It never gets too acidic or too alkaline because it's so important.
Hmm.
But what it will do is, so the rest of the body starts to, accumulate this acid. And over time, if we don't address it, skin issues, tumors,
Hmm.
cancers, this is the way that I've learned what that is. And like you're saying, it's not this, the Western medical system brings so much fear into these things, but it's actually a very simple process to unwind. If we understand how it accumulates, we clean the pipes, we hydrate the system, we let it filter and regenerate itself, and the things just go away
Hmm.
because it's no longer needing to put it somewhere or get it out of the body.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the biophotons for me. And if you look at, it's called angstroms of energy. So you can measure food through, I'm not sure the exact thing that it's done through, but it's the unit is called an angstrom of energy.
Hmm.
And if you look at the human body, it vibrates at about 6,500 to 7,000 angstroms of energy. If you look at uh, processed foods, they vibrate at about 0 to 1,000. If you
Dead
look at
food.
dead food, if you look at cooked meats, it's about 3,000 angstroms of energy. Cooked vegetables are about 6 or 7,000. Um, Fresh vegetables are about 9,000. Fresh fruit is about 12 to 13,000 angstroms of energy. So I want to help my body get more energy, not depleted of energy, or make
Yep.
it harder to extract the energy. So I support it with things as much as I can, with the ones that are bringing more energy. So the way I look at food now, I don't really look at all the minerals and stuff as such, but I look at it as how do I create a simple uh, easeful system, but also getting all the things that I need. So that's where the marine phytoplankton comes in. And I've also just introduced chlorella, which is really great for a muscle builder because it's got all the essential amino acids. And I'm
Yeah.
working with a man, I'm actually going to see him tomorrow. And he's like this nerd scientist man that's been building these marine phytoplankton plants, and he's basically the key guy when it comes to marine phytoplankton products around the world, and really keen to learn more about that because I think it brings so much ease into my body knowing that I'm covering all of the essential minerals, essential fatty acids, and essential amino acids because like you were saying before, a lot of the soils where the fruits and things are grown are depleted, so we're not getting the minerals and the potency that they used to have unless we're getting like wild or someone's got a tree in the backyard or whatever. So it's a good way just to cover all those bases.
Yep. Um, I'll definitely, yeah, I'm definitely curious and interested to play around with the food a bit more.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm open-minded to, and I can see that. What was that? What was the measurement of energy?
Angstroms. You just type in angstroms of energy relating to food, and it will give you a good breakdown.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna look into that because that's it makes sense to me, right? Because I know about living foods, and I'm always on trying to pass the message on and through to people is you got to stop eating these fake foods and expecting you can't eat the fake foods and the dead foods and drink the dead water and
Mm.
expect to have longevity or expect to improve in particular ways because it's not what your body needs. And like you're saying before, the body is very intelligent. It will tell you what you need. And, if you're lacking magnesium, it might make you crave a banana or an avocado.
Mm.
But that takes connection to self and
Yes.
self-awareness
Yeah.
because
Sensitivity.
yeah, what generally happens is people take that signal as oh, I feel like a packet of chips, or oh, I feel like a nice pizza or something like that. But then um, you're just overeating because, and you're eating food that your body doesn't need because it's not feeling like you've introduced the right nutrients into your body. So it's the living foods, it's the real food that is, yeah, and that's why I want to look into that angstroms, because I can definitely see why, if they're vibrating at a higher level of energy, why wouldn't you want to put that in your body? It's like a
Yeah.
no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
That's probably a lot of pennies. Just there's another guy called John Rose on YouTube, and this guy's like he is taken it to the whole new level in terms of experimentation on himself. Like he
I
tracked
followed him. I think you posted something on his story the other day.
yeah,
He's
okay.
always shirtless.
Yeah, yeah,
In all
yeah,
these
yeah.
videos, they look like they've been
Yeah.
filmed in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
followed him, man, and he was talking about the lymph and the blood system.
Yeah.
Like how the blood is the
Fascinating guy.
kitchen. Yeah, oh man,
Hmm.
just yeah. Sorry, keep going with that.
No, well, so he's got so much useful information because
Yeah.
he's really studied it. He's really dove into like how the body works, the anatomy, knows all the systems off by hand, and um, interesting guys like Forrest Gump slash Albert Einstein. But he's a I learned a lot from him in terms of like those nuanced things in terms of like the energy and how it all works together.
Mm.
Um, yeah, John Rose, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, I followed him the other day, from the reel you posted, and it was
Oops.
discussing the lymphatic system and the blood, the circulatory system, and essentially he was saying, and it's so funny because he explained it in like the simplest terms ever that like anyone could understand it,
Mm,
which was really great. He essentially explained it as though like the blood is the kitchen that brings in the nutrients, and the lymph
hmm
is the bathroom
mm,
that empties the waste, right?
hmm
But what he went on to explain was that the lymph doesn't have a pump. It's
mm.
all
Movement.
yeah, it's all movement. It's all stimulation, massage, rebounding, exercise, that stimulates that lymph flow.
Mm,
And when people live sedentary lifestyles, they're not getting that. So that's why they're backed up full of toxicity. And yeah, it just doesn't, um, yeah, people just don't know what they don't know. And I feel like that's why it's so important to have these conversations
100%.
and get the message out there. And it's not for anything other than what a beautiful world we would live in if everyone was healthy and they came from a place of love
Mm,
and free of judgment. And
yeah.
that's why I do what I do with um, facilitating events with my wife Amy, and we do the breath work events, and but we also do coaching like for people, or supporting, or whatever people need to feel held in their journey.
Mm,
That's what we want to accommodate for, and um, it is a beautiful place to be, and it's a privilege, and that's why I'm so passionate about discussing these things and even picking your brain, because yeah, like I said at the start, you're an intriguing dude, and I love watching what you're putting out there, and sharing, and it's very different to anyone that I follow. Like I follow a lot
mm,
of people, a lot of holistically minded people, a lot of um, uh, you know, people who have sort of gone viral with sort of information that they put out there in a holistic wellness sense, and it's just stuff that's simple. It's not like it's just
mm.
they've got the following, but it's just get restful sleep,
Yeah, bro.
move, get sunlight, stay hydrated. It's simple stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask as well, like seeing sort of where your journey has been off Instagram anyway. where
Mm.
you were living in the van and you were eating meat and other things, and now you're sort of at the point where you're eating fruit and vegetables. What are your goals? What do you see for yourself, or are you just um, sort of just taking it as it comes?
Mm. Bro, I just love feeling good.
Mm,
I love feeling at ease in my body
mm,
because I know from there I'm a lot more creative. I'm a lot more compassionate. I can connect better with myself and others. I have a deeper drive to support the external world when I support my internal world. That's one thing that I've really noticed is my connection with nature. The more that I've connected with myself and understand my body and the rhythms and systems within it, I can see so much of it in the natural world. And it's just drawn me more and more to it.
mm.
Um, yeah, man.
Yeah, we are nature.
Here we are.
Uh,
Yeah, so the goals, bro, is just to feel really good and in a body that's functional, it works well, and that can last a really long time. I feel like humans can live hundreds of years, like without any stretch of the imagination. And again, it just starts with that belief, right?
Mm,
I've seen there's many people and, more of these ancient ways of or uh, different texts and cultures that talk about people living hundreds of years. I fully believe that. The human body regenerates itself if we give it the right environment. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult in this day and age with the environmental pollutants and things, but we can put ourselves in really good environments and we can make shifts in terms of bringing more like trees and plants and stuff to this planet because that's where we get pure clean oxygen from, and that's the number one fuel source for the human body. And I was
mm,
really interested when you said that you did a lot of the cryotherapy when you were going through that protocol for your cancer,
mm.
um, because we get usable oxygen, clean pure oxygen all around our system, the body's going to work really well. But
Yeah,
a lot of the time when we're eating the foods, we're breathing a lot quicker, we're breathing a lot more shallow. We're not getting the oxygen delivered around the body as efficiently as it can be. And again, it's like the less that we put into the system, the lighter and the more clean it is, the more available the oxygen, the slower we start to breathe. Slower we breathe, slower the heart rate goes, slower the mind goes, more connected we are with the world. But the breath rate has a direct correlation with the length of life that we live. You look at all the longest living animals on the planet, whales, I think it's like mole rats, tortoises, they all live like over 100 years and they all have the slowest breathing rates. And
yeah,
us humans can have a really slow breathing rate as well. And it comes again, all swings back round to allowing these sensations and things to be arise and dissolve in the body so there's more spaciousness. We feel safer in our environment, we feel safer within ourselves, and we can relax and enjoy this adventure.
yeah. It's breath is underestimated, and it's one of those beautiful automatic life-giving functions that you would go through your day not really paying any attention to, but in a split second, if you turned your attention to it,
Mm,
it just like the heartbeat, it will help you, it will ground you, it will bring you back to the present moment. And during a lot of meditations that we do, we tell people to come back to their breath as a sense of
mm,
coming back to center, being grounded, because you're not gonna stop breathing, right? It's always going. But then on the other side of that, you can utilize your breath to influence your nervous system. So generally, if you are, well, I'm sure you know as well because I think we've trained with a lot of the same people, but you should breathe in and out of your nose pretty much all of the time.
mm.
Mouths are for eating, noses are
Yeah.
for breathing.
Yeah.
Your mouth is just a gaping hole that links straight to your digestive tract, and your nose actually is designed with the little cilia, the hairs in there, and the paranasal sinuses and everything. It's perfectly designed for the air to go in. It warms and moistens the air before it enters,
Hmm.
and then you build up your nitric oxide as
Hmm.
well, which then allows more air to be delivered
Hmm.
because it's a vasodilator
Hmm.
and it's a bronchodilator. So it opens up the airways, opens up
Hmm.
the capillaries and everything, and really just gives you that sense um, of oxygenation that you need, but you need to breathe slower. You need to slow it down. When you're stressed, you're breathing really quick,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't notice that.
Hmm.
So funny full circle sort of quick story was like when I was in high school, I used to have anxiety,
Hmm.
and it wasn't from high school. It was probably a contributor, but I had anxiety so bad that I would be dizzy for months on end. And I'm trying to explain this to my mum, and the only way I can explain it to her is I feel like I'm out of my body.
Hmm.
That's literally how I used to explain it to her at like 16 years old. I was like, Mum,
Wow.
I don't feel right. I feel out of my body. I don't feel myself. And so she took me to a psychologist, and bless this psychologist because I believe talk therapy can be very helpful, but I believe as well you need the somatic side of things, you need the physical. And there was probably obviously many reasons why I was anxious, but this psychologist said, sit up straight and take a breath for me. And I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure I just went like that. And she's like, okay, now keep your mouth shut. And this is when I was 16. I'm 30 now.
Hmm.
So keep your mouth shut, breathe in through your nose, nice and slow, through your diaphragm.
Hmm.
So drawing the air nice and deep into your belly, and just imagine it like a pneumatic balloon, bringing the air in, and then your chest rises, and then breathe out slowly through your nose. And then it was the sign of a reset, a nervous system reset. I yawned. I let out this big yawn.
Hmm.
And so now, being able to teach people functional breath exercises and help people overcome, you know, whatever the case may be. If it's asthma, I grew up with asthma as well. I haven't had asthma in I can't remember how long. But same, yeah, it's like full circle sort of moment, and it is. It's all in the breath. It's so underrated. And then
It's a good way
it's
to put it. It's very underrated.
it's just so underrated. It's quite amazing, and it all out of everything you see online and all of the conversations you might see and podcasts you might listen to, one thing rings true, and that it's human beings have overcomplicated life. In a
Mm.
lot of ways, we've evolved, but I believe we're only evolving technologically. We're not evolving internally.
Mm.
We're actually going backwards, in my opinion.
Mm.
And the way forward is things thinking of health as holistic,
Simple.
interconnected, and whole,
Yeah.
and things like things that have been around for 10,000 years. If foods went around 10,000 years ago, you probably shouldn't consume.
Mm.
If they've got 10,000 ingredients on the back, don't consume. Things like homeopathy and Ayurvedic medicine. You mentioned Ayurvedic practices before. That was a big part of my cancer protocol as well.
Mm.
So just, yeah, simplify your life. And, life is you're not going to be stress free. That's not what we're saying. It's more so about getting to a point in your life where you respond instead of react. Then you can instead of internalizing that, process.
Mm.
You can process those emotions, and you can feel in the instant that you need to feel. Because ultimately people are stressed. Adrenal fatigue would probably be through the roof throughout the world,
Mm.
and as well
Yes.
as liver fatigue as well. But I like supporting the external world through your internal world. Yeah, that's it. It's like people get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
There are people that understand. But I love this chat. I could keep chatting for ages, and I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure
We'll have to do another one, brother.
we'll have to do another one. If there's one piece of advice for the last thing would that you would give to anyone on their self-inquiry and their
Mm.
self-development, what would it be?
Trust yourself because you already know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And with that, I think we'll take a nice moment just to take a
Mm.
couple of breaths. And I want to thank you, Brother Roo, very much for your time. Time is our greatest asset. Everything else comes and goes, but time does not. So
Mm.
thank you very much.
Been a
Let's
pleasure, brother.
let's definitely link up again. I feel like we could talk for hours, so we'll split it up.
Yeah, bro. We'll do part two and three and four or whatever.
Awesome. Awesome. Keep doing you, brother. Take care. God bless. And we'll touch base.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
Peace. Thanks for everyone tuning in.